Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
The individual sauna, it's going to be hard to top that. Please sign your post, folks, your text into the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. This is so good. And she's holding the magazine with her lower body.
And the hand, of course, Don thinks is the lower body.
No, I think it's the upper body. You say the hand is the lower body.
If your hands are down by your hips, it's the lower body.
John Shannon joins us now, NHL Analyst, co-host of the Bob McCowan podcast. How are you, sir?
Well, I got to admit, I have been watching the show for the last 40 minutes. And,
Not so well.
There are three words I can think of right away. Off the rails.
Yeah.
Off the rails.
Every day, my friend.
Yeah.
Every day.
And you know what, Rick, God bless you. But the hand is connected through the arm.
I know that.
Body,
I know that.
Part of the upper body.
Okay,
the
it's
hand
part.
is an upper body injury.
I'm going with you now. It's upper body. It's done.
There you go. There you go. I mean, come on. And by the way, the individual sauna, that was huge in the 60s. Donnie, you might be. They were selling those like hotcakes.
I didn't have one.
Neither did I. I was 9.
Yeah, exactly. Same year. Yeah.
But I think you could buy them in the old Simpson Sears catalog. So.
Yeah. Or Eaton's.
Eaton's, yeah.
Same with the shaker belt.
Woodward's.
Yeah, Woodward's. I used to love Woodward's.
Yeah.
It was great.
We used to come from the Okanagan and go to, more than anything else, go to Woodward's. That was special.
Yeah, the Christmas decorations.
And the restaurant bar. They had the great cafeteria bar. It was fantastic.
And John, the other one was quickly Army Navy. They had a good store on in Columbia Street, 6th Ave there, right by the water. Or 6th Street, one of the two.
Yeah, you're right.
Don't forget Fields.
Yeah, Fields.
Okay.
Well, Fields were everywhere, though.
Yeah, that's true. Every small town, right? Including Oliver.
Right.
But remember the
exactly.
Yeah, the Christmas display at Woodward's.
We had a Fields and
so
sand,
good.
We had Fields and a sand store. Remember
Sand
store?
Yeah, SAAN. I never went into it. To this day, I don't know what was in there. Was it a clothing store? Yeah. Or is it a clothing store?
Fields.
Yeah.
It was like Fields.
Yeah.
Okay. Canucks in Chicago tonight. The Hawks are 0-3-1. Fleury, Jones, the return of Taves. Is it too early to say you expected more from the Hawks?
Well, I think a lot of people expected a lot from the Hawks, and I thought that even though they had a second-half swoon last year in the 56-game schedule, people were pointing that they were going in the right direction, particularly after they made the deal for Seth Jones. Here's the one thing I would say is they missed Duncan Keith.
Yeah.
And they missed Duncan Keith's leadership. And I can't imagine after missing a whole season with an immune disorder that Jonathan Taves is anywhere close to being 100%. And Patrick Kane is not 18 years old anymore. This is a team that they thought was on the upswing, is not very good right now. Marc-Andre Fleury's been thrown into a really tough spot there. And you know what? The Canucks, I think, are getting them at the right time.
Duncan Keith isn't the most popular guy in this market because of the Daniel Sedin incident, infamous Daniel Sedin incident around these parts. He's on the ice all the time. What else makes him a great leader? He comes across sometimes as grumpy, but what makes him a great leader?
I think that the concept is he's everybody thinks he's a little aloof and not necessarily grumpy, but inside the room, he's somebody that you can lean on, and even though he's not verbose, when he speaks, he was able to back it up on the ice, and so when he speaks, people listen. And in so many ways, Taves was the same way. Jonathan didn't say very much all the time, but when he did, you better listen. So that was a band of merry men for a long period of time, 7 or 8 years, that always seemed to communicate in the same way. And Keith was part of that. And that's what he's supposed to do in Edmonton, too. He's not going to play the 20 minutes a night at Edmonton. What he's going to do now is be a consigliere to Connor McDavid when Connor needs to bounce ideas off of people. And then he'll play his 18 minutes a night and contribute some different way on the ice.
John, the Buffalo game was not good for the Canucks. A lot of negativity in the market, as you can well understand. It just was not a good game. Your feel on the Canucks after 4 games?
Well, it's funny. When you look at teams, people used to talk about going on the road and bonding and how great it was and how important it was. You look at the teams that went on the road and have had disasters. Seattle has had a tough time. The Canucks have had a tough time. Winnipeg's had a tough time. Maybe if you're doing the schedule in the future, you try to stick it at home and stay at home early on in order to try to bond at home. I still think the Canucks, they haven't been, full bore. They haven't had every guy on the roster contribute all the time. I think that they're still in better shape than most people realize. And then I think it'll turn around tonight. I mean, we all heard about how hard practice was yesterday. And so I think that Travis will have them in the right spot. And in the end, people take Buffalo for granted. Rick, people think Buffalo's not a good team. Don Granato's done a good job there. The players like playing there. They played a faster game. In the end, they played a faster game than the Vancouver Canucks, and that's why they won.
Yeah, they're a big team too. Hey, just a couple of positive COVID tests today. Jeff Carter in Pittsburgh, Scheifele in Winnipeg. Sometimes we forget we're still dealing with this COVID, John.
It's a real reminder. I think there are now 5 or 6 teams that have COVID protocol players. Now, the good news is that Mark Scheifele could be out of the protocol before the game tonight because he is double vaccinated. And he could have 2 negative tests in a 24-hour period. He could be back playing. Blake Wheeler is still sitting in a hotel in St. Paul. He can't travel for 10 days because of the COVID protocol. But Tristan Jarry's on that list too in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
It's you're right. We sometimes forget that this is still an issue. And I go back and actually, Rick, to how severe the Evander Kane suspension was. Yeah. Because the league takes COVID seriously, and you cannot abuse the system like Kane did, and that's why you got a quarter of the season.
John, before I let you go, Canucks in Seattle for the Kraken's first ever home opener on Saturday. On the Bob McCowan podcast, which you're a part of, you had Tim Lewicki, CEO of the Oakview Group, which is involved in the Key Arena, Climate Pledge Arena, and the Kraken. What stood out in that interview?
What stood out was that Tim's a going concern. His brother Todd, who runs the organization, is a going concern. But just how proud they are of what they've done. By the way, that's the scoreboards in that arena are 3-sided.
Right, triangles. Yeah.
They're triangles so that you can see it, but at the end you can see it on both sides and over each defensive zone. But just that what they've tried to do and the demands that the city put on them to be carbon neutral, and in the end it will have paid off. It is going to be, I think, a spectacular place. We're going to get our first glimpse on Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada. But I think it's going to be the state of the art. And I'll tell you what, it's going to put pressure on people like the owners of the Vancouver Canucks to make sure that their arena gets to that level and stays state of the art.
Well said. John, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Upper body.
Upper body.
I'm with you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're with them now.
All right.
Thanks, John. Next Thursday. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
The teacher, the student,